So in week 10, we're going to be using all the skills that we've built up so far throughout the unit and apply those in some business applications. So in this week and next week actually, we will be looking at some of the terminology that's used in business problems so that you can get used to that and be able to take a word problem and translate it into a mathematical problem that you can then solve. So we're going to start off by looking at supply and demand. So this is obviously a common model used in business. It actually uses our graphing skills that we've already seen before, so that's for linear graphs and possibly quadratic graphs as well. We've got an example of that in there. And basically we're looking at solving simultaneous equations again. So you should be able to draw parallels from the work that we did on profit and loss earlier in the unit, but this time we've got some different terminology involved. And we need to know that terminology so we understand what the questions are asking us to do. So I'll have a look at solving supply and demand problems both graphically, using the graph to generate equations, and then solving the equations algebraically as well. All skills that you've had before, it's just a new context. So you should find that you get through that fairly easily. The second thing that we look at this week is problems involving interest. So that might be interest on an investment or interest charged on a loan. We look at two different sorts of interest. We look at simple interest, which is basically a linear type of model for interest. The simple interest formula will be on the formula sheet that you can now download on Milo. And basically it's just a matter of being able to read a worded problem, pull out the required information, substitute it into the formula and calculate the unknown. Again, are skills that you've got already. The second type of interest that we look at is compound interest. So this time you'll notice that the model fits our exponential growth equations. So again, you've seen this style of equation before. So here we're just learning the terminology and how to use it in this specific case. So again, you'll need to be able to read a worded question, pull out the information, substitute it into the formula, which again is on the formula sheet. Although I must stress that on your formula sheet, we don't tell you what the pronumerals stand for in the equations. That's something you'll need to know so that you can use and solve these problems. You need to be a little bit careful when you're solving compound interest problems that you make sure you have the right value when you're putting in the rate of interest. This has to be adjusted depending on how the interest is compounded and calculated. You need to be careful with the number of interest periods that you put in the formula as well. They're probably the most common mistakes that I see there. People forget to adjust those for the specific case they've been given. Basically, when you're solving these problems, it's a matter of reading the questions carefully, making sure that you've listed the information with the correct pronumeral, so it's going to match up with the equation, and then using all the skills that I know you've already got to solve for their particular unknown. So hopefully you'll enjoy using those skills in contexts that you can then sort of relate to in the real world, I guess. And we'll carry on with that next week. See you then. Goodbye.